Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to episode 42 of Monorail Memoirs. Today we'll be discussing how we would redesign EPCOT's future world. The fact of the matter is it's gone through so many renovations over the last 10, 15 years, especially with the introduction of Walcott during the pandemic. It was a little bit of a disaster, but we are going to fix it for you. Don't worry. Before we get into that though, Lauren, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. I've got a little bit of running coming up, and of course, we have got Springtime Surprise coming up, which of course is thoroughly exciting. Disappointing and sad news about Jeff Galloway. For those who don't know, a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Galloway, who is the consultant who wrote all of the Run Disney training programs, passed away. He was 80 years old, former US Olympian. So yeah, very sad and credited with the run, walk, run method. So unfortunate to hear of his passing. He was a well-known figure within the Run Disney community. We're focusing then on what we're on today. So let's talk about what are the problems with Future World. For those who don't know, EPCOT is split into two parts. Your Future World, which is the bit that you walk into, where you see the EPCOT ball, and it's all the bits around there. Beyond that, towards the back end, which is actually the southern point, towards the back end of the park, you've got the World Showcase with all the different countries. So we're focusing just on Future World at the minute, so we're very much towards the front of the park. Over the last 10 years, 15 years, there's been a move away from the edutainment style that EPCOT was famous for. That is education and entertainment. Part of the issue was technology moved on too quickly, and we did a whole episode a few weeks ago on remembering Disney Quest, and that is a prime example of how if you try and keep up with technology, it can be really difficult. But those pavilions, such as Interventions, which was a combination of sort of education and entertainment pavilions, that was fantastic. And now what we're left with is a mismatched, spread out, broadly uncohesive approach to Future World. So Lauren, in your mind, where has Disney gone wrong with the changes they've made in the last 10 years here?
I feel like they've really pulled away from what EPCOT was and was intended to be. Absolutely. I feel like, unfortunately, just stuck IPs on things. You know, Frozen Cells. Come on, let's get it into Norway. I know that that's not Future World, but you know what I mean. Moana, Cells. Let's make a Moana walkthrough thing that makes zero sense at where it is. Come on. Obviously, Finding Nemo's been there for quite a while. You know, the Seas of Nemo and Friends, and that's been an okay update. But yeah, I feel like it's just completely pulled away from everything that EPCOT was, and that's what gave it its charm almost.
Yeah, and let's take a step back and look at the history of EPCOT. EPCOT stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. This was an idea that Walt Disney himself had, and it was going to be a living, functional, working city. You're going to have the central hub where people lived. Central hub where people would do shopping and meet and things. There'd be factories in a second ring that companies like General Electric and other, you know, at the time, big pioneering US companies would have factories, and then one ring further out, you'd have the residential areas. He had loads of ideas about this, and he supposedly on his deathbed actually mapped out all of EPCOT on the roof of his hotel, roof of his bed in the hospital room he was in. However, Walt, of course, passed away, and with that, before Magic Kingdom opened, and with that, the idea of EPCOT as a actual living community died with him. There were a few ideas within EPCOT that the Disney Corporation liked and wanted to push, and that's how they got a second gate, a second theme park within the Walt Disney World Resort. I do believe, though, that the Future World bit has struggled massively with some of its new rides. So, and I'm saying new in the last 20 years, okay? The test track went from the original test track, which was really good, where you were a test dummy, and then it went to whatever Chevrolet tried to do, disaster. And now I haven't done test track 3.0. We will do that when we go in. We'll do that when we go in April. But I'm looking forward to that. But that is just one example of how there's been a bit of an up and down journey with the quality of rides. So what we're going to do now, Lauren, is I'm going to just fire some rides at you, and I want you to just tell me whether or not we should keep it as it is, upgrade it, or what your general thoughts are about it. We're not going to do all of them. We're just going to do a few. So let's start with the biggest, the best, Spaceship Earth.
Oh, keep. Absolutely. Keep.
No changes?
I think I would update the screen. The way that it takes your photo for the ending scene is just it just screams like 2010 or something. Or
And
like
it's before
earlier.
that.
Yeah.
The ride itself is good. It's a trip through
Yeah.
time, narrated by Jane Judi Dench, fantastic. But as you're going up that initial incline, there's a camera to the right, and I think it might be like 120p, not 1020, 120p quality camera, and it takes this photo of you. And most of the time now, it misses it, and either gets either half your face or it gets none of your face, and it then gets projected into a little screen that you could build your future. That once upon a time was really cool, where you would have a little 2-minute animation at the end where you're either under the sea or in space or whatever. It's awful now.
Yes, absolutely. And I think now with what you can do with AI on your phone, on the thing that isn't even meant to really do things like that, a phone is meant for calls and texts at the end of the day, for something that kind of isn't really meant for it, but it can do it. Why aren't Disney just upgrading it? It just makes no sense to me. Just
now, don't forget, prior to COVID, they'd said prior to COVID they were gonna update the ride, and then.
But to me, wouldn't COVID be kind of the perfect time to do it because you had to close anyway?
Well, they were too busy with Walcott in general, weren't they? They were too busy trying to. And by the way, people, the reference to Walcott, because I've said it a few times now, EPCOT, of course, EPCOT, but Walcott was this idea that because there was so much building going on in Future Work, there was walls up everywhere. So EPCOT became Walcott. There you go. So Spaceship Earth, you wouldn't actually keep it as it is. You would change it.
Yeah, I would upgrade it. Absolutely.
Okay. Our second option then. The seas, and that's the whole thing, the whole pavilion.
Keep.
Exactly as it is.
Yeah.
The Finding Nemo ride that is. Okay.
I'll tell you what, though, my perception of it has changed since having children. That is one of their favourite rides. They love it. Because
Finding Nemo?
Yeah, because they've seen Nemo, so they understand it. They know kind of what the whole story is about. And it keeps them engaged then with wanting to look at all the fish and all of the turtles and all the stingrays and all that sort of stuff. Because so you go through the ride and then there's a massive aquarium afterwards, and I just think it's amazing. And it's also a lovely kind of overstimulation break, if you know what I mean. It's a very low stimulus environment. Obviously Disney can be very overstimulating, especially for young children. Lots of lights, lots of sounds. The aquarium just completely kind of dulls the senses and makes everyone feel a little bit calmer. So yeah, I would keep it,
It's also very well air conditioned, which
Absolutely.
in summer, huge win. So you would keep the seas exactly as is.
Yes.
Do you know something? I can't get upset with that. Not least because I've not taken children to Disney before, so I don't know what that's like. But I do see the appeal of having a quieter, air-conditioned environment, and the children do love Turtle Talk with Crush.
Yes, yeah.
That's iconic.
And they've also got a little like indoor play area as well.
Do they?
That they can kind of climb about and stuff. So if they're getting a little bit too wild because they have to wait in queues and all that sort of stuff, they're sitting down a little bit at the time, they're having to walk just to kind of blow off some steam. You can sit down, have a chill out in the aircon. I just think it's a really nice and really unused area, really. It's never very busy.
So you would keep the seas exactly as it is. Okay, that's fair enough. We'll move on to my next one then. The land. The whole land pavilion.
Okay, so the land pavilion is massive. It's got 2 rides in. It's got a quick service restaurant. It's got a theatre thing.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I was going to say that it's got 3 rides because of the attraction, but
it's got a theatre thing that's not really used properly.
Yeah, well, it's now narrated by the guy who plays Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. He's now narrated because it was a Lion King one, but now it's more just like gone back to like being a nature documentary, which fine. But the two rides in there are Living with the Land, which is a 20-minute boat ride tour through how aggregation has changed, and a greenhouse, and how Disney is using hydroponics to basically serve food in their restaurant, which sounds incredibly dull. It's actually a banging ride. And then it's got Soaring', which Soaring' over California was great. soaring around the world's awful unless you're sat right in the middle. And of course, this year, Lauren, and we all miss it. But this year is America's 250th anniversary. So they're doing Soaring Over America. I expect wait times to go 3-4 hours for that.
Absolutely.
But so then the land. Are we changing the land?
Yes, I would change it. I would keep living with the land, maybe update it a little bit, maybe like it a little bit more exciting, you know, like the voiceover. I don't know, just a little bit more engaging. I need something else. I just need something a little bit more. Soaring, obviously, we know is changing. As it stands right now, absolutely needs updating, absolutely needs changing. The Eiffel Tower that is 1K is just horrendous. It just doesn't work. Whoever okayed that from whatever seat they were in was clearly on something else. The quick service restaurant, I've never really eaten there, so I can't really comment, to be honest. I don't know if you have.
I have. It's a bog standard Disney quick service restaurant. I have nothing overly positive and nothing negative to say. But
the theatre, it needs completely changing. I don't know what I would make it.
And this is the problem, right? If you do the default Disney thing and slap some IP on it, you want to be thinking either Moana, you want to be thinking Brave, maybe something that's sort of embedded with elements of nature.
Yeah.
Lion King is what it was previously, but they deliberately moved away from that one. But that's another good shout. Zootopia, perhaps, but then you start cross-pollinating between parks, and I'm not sure how keen they would be to do that. So there are options there, but I do agree the land, Soaring needs changing as it is its current format, and it will be doing so, but living with the land shouldn't be touched. It's too sacred. We'll move on to our penultimate pavilion that I want to talk to you about. So, what do we do with Mission Space?
Yeah, no, done, finished, terrible.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Again, I think when it came about in like 2007 or something, wasn't it like that?
Something like that. It could be slightly older, actually.
New, it was exciting. It was something that Disney's never really done before, a simulation ride where you really pulled back and you can really feel the G-forces. And now I'm just like, no, I don't really want to just go and feel sick for 10 minutes.
I think it's like I never felt sick, but that's because I'm a hero, so I wouldn't. But one thing that I did like to do though was pin myself back, tense my core, and try and lift my legs off the ground slightly without using the hip flexors. But the fact that that's where I got the enjoyment from the ride from probably indicates it wasn't really working, was it? No, I'd knock it down and build something.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, we'll come on to what I consider to be sort of new pavilion ideas. I have a couple that I want to throw out there and see your reaction to them. But so we would get rid of Mission Space. That's not really contentious. The final one I want to talk about, because we've already mentioned Test Track. The final one I want to talk about then. What would you do? Would you change? Would you keep Journey into Imagination with Figment?
Keep.
Why?
It's a classic.
Doesn't work. Eric Idle doesn't remember filming it. This is the whole thing, by the way. I don't know if you're aware. So Eric Idle's the guy that's in it. There was a whole Twitter conversation maybe 6 or 7 years ago where somebody was like, "Oh, I loved you in Journey's Imagination Figment," and he doesn't remember doing it because he just went to a recording studio in LA one day, did it, never thought about it again, never visited the park. He's no idea about it. So it's quite funny. But Journey into Imagination either needs a massive upgrade because it's so of its time. I mean, okay, I get that people like Figment, and Figment has become almost a pseudo mascot for Epcot as a park. I had a friend of mine, she was a Disney fan, she didn't understand anything about the appeal of Figment. She went to Epcot, did Journey into Imagination, and was like, "Oh, no, okay, now I get it." But I think Figment needs to either become more meaningful as a character, or the whole ride needs to be pulled apart. It needs to be reworked. If you want to keep the audio, fine. If you want to keep everything else, fine. But it needs to be reworked. It needs to be made smoother. I mean, you can see the next scene being reset as you come round the corner. It doesn't work. Journey into Imagination, in my thing, needs to be not fully demolished, but it needs to be gutted and started again.
Updated. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just emotionally tied to it. But I think that if someone, so for example, last time that I went, I took some friends in, it was their first time there. they came off Journey into Imagination with Figment and were like, what have I just watched? And I was like, isn't it great? And they were like, no, it's terrible.
So we'll move on to new pavilion ideas. And I want to start with, I have two proposals. Don't ask me where these would go. I've not worked that out. Don't know where they're going. I don't know if we knock down Mission Space or whatever. I think one of them needs to be a space-based theme. There needs to be a space-based pavilion. Get some sort of collaboration going with NASA or something. Bring the edutainment element back. Have a moon rock in there. Let the flat earthers go mental as they walk in and have a meltdown. Let the people who think that the Americans never went to the moon have another, like, have all that, and have bits where you can easily debunk some things. Bring an education element back to it, because space is objectively cool, right?
Yeah.
Children will love space. And there's plenty of adults that are interested in space too. You can have it and you don't even have to just stick to space. You can have sort of near space flight as well. You can talk about the SR-71 Blackbird. You can talk about the U-2. You can talk about aircraft that fly in that level, above 50,000 feet, and how, we've got satellites going in there and what the risk of space junk is, and bring a certain degree of education back. What would the ride be? I don't know. I haven't worked that far ahead. You could have it as an actual, NASA launch simulator, so people will think mission space, but make it realistic. Get people to sit down, tilt the thing back, like, make it something. So that's my proposal: a space-based themed approach. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I do like the theming around Mission Space. Like, it's got quite a lot of the educational plaques in the queue, and the actually outside bit of Mission Space looks pretty cool. It shows you kind of some where the planets are in relation to each other, and just like little bits like that. I do really like that. I think that is cool. Again, I'm not sure what would go there. I was thinking like a Space Mountain-esque type thing. But then they've got Guardians just down the way.
And I would say that the one thing we haven't brought up in any of this is Guardians. I don't think anyone bats an eyelid as to Guardians is possibly the best ride that Disney made in the last 20 years. Like, it really absolutely is. I mean, it's not the best ride in Disney, that's the Carousel of Progress, but it's probably the best ride Disney made in the last 20 years. So we're not going to question Guardians, but that's my proposal. Some sort of space themed, because you lean into the technology aspect, you can lean into the partnerships with NASA, you can talk about space rocks and all this sort of stuff. I think it would just be cool.
And don't forget, NASA's just down the road, really.
Cape Canaveral is not far. Not far at all. So that's one I would like to do. The other one that I would like, so this is my second proposal, and I feel I could be treading on the toes a little bit here of Animal Kingdom, but hear me out. I think something that is Earth technology related. So you would mention climate change, but you wouldn't go full on in on it because current political climate means you can't. But you'd mention climate change. You would talk about high-speed rail, for example. You could talk about the future of cars. You could talk about how a city of the future would look. And yes, it becomes education. It absolutely does. What is the ride? I don't know. Some sort of, I nearly said some sort of car driving one, and I remember Test Track's the other side of the damn park. So that might not work. I don't know what the ride would be. I don't know, but have something that is Earth technology based in how we utilize. I mean, heck, you could do an entire ride based around the idea of how do we harness like hydroelectricity, like the idea of you go through a thing where you're building a dam, for example, or what have you, and then you are amongst the water particles and you're rushing down, and so there's an element of thrill to it. I honestly think you could have an Earth sciences technology pavilion.
Well, they did have was it the Bodyworks or
Body Wars? Yeah,
Body Wars,
within the Wonders of Life pavilion. Yeah.
So they had a pavilion a little bit like that, didn't they? And I do feel like that bit is missing. I think they've lent, as I said in the start, too far towards the IP. What can we stick on it that'll make people like it? And I just think that isn't the essence of Epcot. The essence of Epcot is the ever-changing, the experimental, the, like, ever-changing technology. and just a nod to that would be nice.
Agreed, but I think part of what we have done here is we've just come up, or we or I have just come up with proposals that don't feature IP, that aren't marketable,
Yeah.
and it does move away from the model Disney's pursued for the last 20 years. And bearing in mind the new CEO, Josh D'Amaro, was previously head of Parks and Resorts and Experiences, he will no doubt be leaning more into the park stuff. Now, I'm broadly happy that D'Amaro has been given the job. Nothing against any other candidates. Dana Walden would have been absolutely perfect, but she's now the chief creative officer, which is a new position. I'm glad they didn't do the co-CEO things because I don't think that generally works. But suffice to say, Disney have made a good decision for the future of the parks. But I would go as far as say that IP is in the process, if it hasn't already, of ruining EPCOT and specifically Future World.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's infiltrating, and for new park goers, they won't feel it, they won't understand it. They're just like, well, yeah, it's a Disney park, so why would you not have Disney characters in it? But for the originals, for the OGs, it really is sore. Like it's a tough pill to swallow for, you know, everything that we used to love. Like Interventions, yes, I do understand it was outdated, but it was cool, it was fun, it was exciting. And I think that just slapping IP could be anything. But then I also think that the introduction of the Epic Universe for Universal is pushing Disney towards needing to use the IPs, because that's what Epic Universe has done. They've obviously lent on all of their franchises and all their different films, and it's been a storm. Everyone's loved it. And I think that Disney are kind of forced into a position where they think, well, we kind of have to do that because that's what the people are wanting. They're wanting to be a part of the story that they've seen on the screen.
I think it's lazy Imagineering, though. And I'm not blaming the Imagineers because, of course, they're getting pushed in this direction.
It's the direction.
It's very lazy, in my view. I mean, when was the last time that there was a truly original Disney ride with no previous IPs? I mean, I'm struggling to think, because even if you go back to the early 2000s, you know, Buzz Lightyear, of course, is Toy Story, which Pixar was associated at the time. Yes, I get it, and Disney had the distribution rights. I appreciate that was a slightly unique business relationship at the time, but before Disney ended up buying it. But of course, you've got Star Wars, Frozen. Like I'm actually going to have to look up when the last Disney ride is that didn't feature IP. I can say with confidence, though, for people who aren't a huge fan of IP, the Carousel of Progress doesn't feature any IP at all.
Diddly squat.
Diddly squat IP, highly recommended. Please let us know what you think. How would you go about fixing Future World? Because we know it needs fixing. Please let us know in the comments, etc. There's a merch shop. Can't believe I'm saying that. There's a merch shop, and Worm, shout out to you for actually buying merch. Big fan. He actually has it now on his desk at work. So whenever I go and fill up the brews, I'm filling up the Monorail Memoirs mug that Worm's got. I think it's fantastic. So thank you to him. As always, thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. And until then, please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.
Bye.